My name is Temi, and I'm 8 years old. This is what happened to me and my big brother Femi in the summer of 2024 in our village near Lagos, Nigeria. Femi was 12, tall for his age, with a grin that made everyone love him. He was my hero, always taking me on adventures, even when Mama told us to stay close to home. But after that day we walked down the old path behind a mango grove, Femi doesn't smile anymore, and I can't sleep without checking under my bed, scared something's breathing down there. It was a hot afternoon, the kind where the red dirt burns your feet and the air smells of roasted yam and spicy peppers from the village market. Femi was sitting in our yard, scratching shapes in the ground with a stick, grumbling that he was bored. "Temi, let's go check out the old path," he said, "the one where the big kids tell scary stories." Mama was at her market stall, haggling over pepper prices, and Papa was off in town on his bicycle. I knew I shouldn't go, but I didn't want to let Femi down. I slipped on my sandals and followed him, my heart thumping. The old path cut through the mango grove, where the trees are so tall the sun barely sneaks through the leaves. Dry, yellow grass scratched my legs, and fat beetles with shiny wings buzzed, like they were whispering secrets to each other. Femi walked ahead, humming a local tune and swatting bushes with his stick. Suddenly, he stopped, like his foot caught on something. He bent down and brushed the dirt aside. "Temi, look at this," he said. It was a small pouch, no bigger than an orange, made of rough black cloth tied with a red string. It looked old, like it had been buried for years. Femi picked it up and weighed it in his hand. "Bet it's treasure, Temi. Maybe old coins." But I didn't like it. The pouch felt too heavy, like something inside was watching us. Femi tugged the red string open with his teeth. Inside was a piece of wood carved with tiny, jagged symbols, a dried lizard's tail that still stank, and 3 black beads that gleamed like cats' eyes in the sunlight. A sour, rotten smell hit us like bad fish. "Femi, put it back," I said. "It's bad." But he laughed and called me a baby. Then his eyes lit up. "You know what? This is a Juju Charm, like the ones Ngozi talks about. We gotta destroy it, like heroes in stories." I begged him not to burn it, but Femi wouldn't listen. He gathered dry twigs from the bushes and dug a small pit in the soft dirt beside the path. Using a stone and his stick, he sparked a tiny fire, like when we roasted corn with the other kids. He held the pouch up, grinning like he was putting on a show, and tossed it into the flames. The fire hissed, like someone poured water on it. A thick, yellow smoke curled up, reeking of rotten eggs and burnt meat. The beads popped loudly, like corn kernels in a pan. The carved would let out a scream. Not human, but like a wounded animal. I swear I heard a whisper in the smoke, saying, "You'll pay." Femi's grin vanished. His face went pale, and he kicked dirt over the fire to smother it. "Temi, let's get home," he muttered, his voice shaking. I saw his hands trembling. When we got home, the sun was setting, and the mango tree shadows stretched long across our yard. That night, our room, with its tin roof that rattled in the rain, felt wrong, like it was too small. Femi's bed and mine were side by side, but the air felt heavy. He kept waking up, saying he heard footsteps in the yard. I listened, but all I heard were crickets, or maybe something else, a low rasp coming from far away. "Femi, it's just the wind," I said, but I was scared too. In the morning, Femi rolled up his sleeve, and I froze. 3 deep scratches ran down his arm, like someone clawed him. Dried blood crusted around them. "I don't know how this happened," he said, but his eyes were full of fear. The next day, we went to the market to help Mama. The air was thick with the smell of hot oil and spices, and vendors' shouts filled my ears. Auntie Ngozi, Mama's friend with her big hoop earrings, saw Femi rubbing his arm. "What's wrong, boy?" she asked. Femi stayed quiet, but I told her about the pouch. Her face went white, like she'd seen a ghost. That was a Juju Charm, she said, the kind bad people make to trap their enemies. You don't burn those. You woke something up. She said we needed to find a Babalawo, a Yoruba priest, to put the charm back to sleep, or things would get worse. Femi just nodded, but I saw him staring at the ground like he saw something in the dirt. The nights after that were worse. Femi stopped sleeping. His eyes got dark circles, and he mumbled to himself like he was talking to someone I couldn't see. One night, I woke up and saw him standing by the window, staring at the mango grove. The full moon lit his face, but his eyes looked empty. "Temi, they're calling me," he said. "Who?" I asked, my heart racing. He just shook his head and whispered, "I can't run." I didn't know what to do, but I was too scared to move. 3 nights later, the worst night came. I jolted awake when a loud scrape echoed from the yard, like someone dragged a stone across the ground. Femi wasn't in his bed. The window was open, and a cold breeze made the curtain flap. His sandals were by the door, but in the dirt outside, I saw footprints. Not Femi's, but big ones with toes that bent backward like they weren't human. I ran to get Mama. When we came back, Femi was gone. Mama cried and screamed, but no one in the village dared look for him. The elders said the charm belonged to an old Juju man who cursed our village years ago after they stole his land. Burning it had set his anger free. The next morning, Papa took me back to the old path. The dirt still smelled of that sour smoke. In the spot where Femi made the fire, we found a scrap of the burnt pouch, but the black beads were gone. Papa said, "This place isn't safe anymore." But I couldn't forget Femi. At night, when the wind slips through the window, I hear his voice whispering my name, like he's calling from the mango grove. Ani Ngozi says I must never go back to that path, but I kept Femi's favorite stone, the one he kicked that day. I don't know what was in that pouch, but it's still out there, and I think it's waiting for me too. This story is drawn from the memoir of Pedro Ramos, a young geologist who ventured into the Sierra Madre Mountains near Chihuahua, Mexico, in October 1913. Written in his tattered journal, his account captures a chilling encounter that haunted him until his death in 1975. The Mexican Revolution had plunged the region into chaos, with rebel gunfire echoing through the valleys and the stench of scorched earth clinging to the air. Pedro, only 25, led 2 fellow geologists, Jose and Maria, to an abandoned silver mine to collect samples, ignoring a local guide's grim warning that the mine was dead. Early one morning, they set out with backpacks stuffed with oil lamps, ropes, and pickaxes. The road was rugged, lined with sharp rocks, and a cold wind howled through the valleys. The mine was nestled in a deep ravine, its entrance a gaping black wound in the mountainside. Scattered around were rusted tools and broken animal bones, cows, horses, even a skull that looked like a coyote's. Pedro wrote in his journal that the air felt heavy, but their curiosity pushed them forward. Inside the tunnel, the air was cold and damp, like breathing in a forgotten crypt. The stone walls were scarred with deep scratches, as if clawed by something massive. The drip of water echoed, mixed with a faint, guttural rasp, like the breath of something alive. An hour in, they reached an underground chamber and found a chilling sight. Crude stone knives, carved bones, and a pit filled with ash and a dark, viscous liquid that reeked of blood. Nearby was a pile of tattered clothes, a poncho, a pair of rotted boots, and a silver necklace that might have belonged to a revolutionary soldier. Pedro knew these weren't just animal kills. Suddenly, a scraping sound came from the darkness. They swung their oil lamps and caught a glimpse of a figure, a gaunt man with yellowish, wrinkled skin, as if he hadn't seen sunlight in years. His sunken eyes glinted with hunger, and his teeth were jagged and broken. Before they could react, he vanished into the shadows. Maria whispered, "People live here." But when they tried to retrace their steps, the tunnel seemed to twist, its paths more labyrinthine than before. A scream tore from Jose. Two more figures, a woman and a young boy, dropped from the tunnel ceiling. The woman clutched a bone knife, and the boy snarled like a feral dog. They seized Jose and dragged him into the dark. Maria and Pedro ran, the sound of heavy footsteps and rasping breaths closing in. Pedro felt a cold hand grab his ankle. He turned to see a child, maybe 8 years old, her face scarred and her teeth bared, staring up at him. He yanked his leg free and, with Maria, sprinted toward a faint light that seemed to be the exit. When they reached the mine's entrance, the iron gate they'd left open was now shut. Maria slammed her shoulder against it until it gave way. The rasping and footsteps grew louder behind them. As they stumbled into the open air, Pedro felt something cold still watching him. He glanced back and saw a family, maybe 7 people from children to elders, standing at the entrance, staring. One of them, an old woman, held a bone and scraped it slowly with her nails. Jose was never found. Pedro told the authorities he'd been lost in a cave-in, but no one dared search the mine. Later, he heard stories of a family that fled Chihuahua during the famines of the 19th century, retreating to the mines to survive. Rumors said they turned to cannibalism, and their descendants still lurked in the depths. They weren't human anymore, just their hunger was. Now, whenever the name Sierra Madre is spoken, a shadow seems to linger. If you ever pass by the old mines of Mexico, don't go inside. Something in those stones is still starving.